Is the market making a comeback? Not quite, but something did shift in September. For the first time in months, prices ticked up across all property types, even as overall sales stayed low. So skip ahead for my personal advice or stick around for the breakdown. The Bank of Canada lowered its key interest rate by 25 basis points to 2.5% on September 17th, marking its first rate cut since March. If you're selling, now is not the time to coast. Homes are still selling, but only with the right preparation, pricing, and promotion. I'll have more of that in my 2 cents at the end of this video. Strategy matters more than ever. Work with a realtor who understands the data, knows your neighborhood, and can give you clear and concise direction, not just wishful thinking. Let's take a look at the numbers, starting with total sales. Only 502 homes sold last month. That's down almost 5% year over year and well below the 10-year average for September. Buyers are holding all the cards, and they know it. So looking at detached homes, only 325 properties sold. This is down 4.1% year over year for comparing to September of last year. Semis experienced a bit of a bump with 34 selling. That's up over 6% compared to September of last year. Townhome sales, only 91 sold, which is down just over 5% compared to September of last year. And condos are taking a beating. Only 51 sold. That's down almost 14% compared to last September. Things are not looking great. Maybe we'll see a bit of a revival in the autumn market. Let's take a look at prices and trends. Prices are edging up month over month. Overall average pricing, homes are selling just over $753,000. That's down almost 5% compared to September of last year. We're up about 3.2% compared to August, which is encouraging. Detached homes were selling for almost $859,000. That's down almost 6% compared to September of last year, and we've got a bit of a bump up at 1.4% compared to August. Semis, $621,000 average sale price, down just over 5% compared to September of last year, and they inched up half a point compared to August. Condos are experiencing the biggest pressure, down almost 9% compared to September of last year. They're selling on average just over $442,000, and they experienced a 2% bump up compared to August. So new listings, we're hovering just under 1,500 listings. That's up 11% compared to September of last year, and that's up almost 33% for the 10-year average. 2,100 active listings at the end of September, huge, 22% year over year, so that's a huge increase, and that's almost an 80% increase if we're comparing the 10-year averages. Months of inventory, we're hovering at 4 months. So remember, months of inventory is how long it would take to sell the current inventory at the current rate that homes are selling. We're hovering around 4 months right now, so we're into that buyer market territory. And again, this is on average. Some homes are selling very quickly within a month and a half of inventory if we're looking at certain segments. Some homes are taking 6 months, 7 months, like if we're looking at condos. So it all depends on which segment you're at, but on average, we're leaning into that buyer market territory. If we look at average days on market, we're hovering at 32 days, no change from August, and we're up 4 days if we're comparing year over year compared to September of last year. Okay, so what do you do in this market for the balance of 2025 if you're buying, if you're selling, or maybe if you're thinking of doing any of those in the next 3, 6, 9 months or so? If you're selling in this market, you need to be cutthroat. There's no room for fluff or delusion in this market. You have to focus on what you can control. You can't control the market. You can't control the interest rates. You can only control who you're working with, what they're doing for you. How does your home show? How does it look? How does it smell? Who's seeing your home? What's the exposure like? Think of it as a dating profile. You want to put your best images online to attract a potential mate, in this case, to attract a potential buyer. Remember, buyers are making a decision within 10 seconds when they're looking online. Do I like this home? Do I not like this home? So you want to attract them quickly. If you've done everything right, but you don't have the right person in your corner to bring the deal across the finish line, you're going to leave tens of thousands of dollars on the table, or you might not even sell, especially in a market like this. So you need to have a strong negotiator. There is absolutely zero room for the weak in this market. You only get what you can negotiate. So have someone that has the right personality type, that's non-confrontational, that is collaborative to do a deal that works for you and your transaction and the specific dynamics, and crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's to make sure that your transaction is airtight, squeaky clean, and there's no issues down the road. If you're in the market to buy, this is a bit of an advantageous market for you, depending on the segment or the property type that you're looking for. If you're trying to get into a highly desirable neighborhood where there's minimal turnover and minimal inventory, those neighborhoods are still gonna be competitive. So you're still gonna have to be quick to get in to view a property, quick to offer, etc. You might even get into multiple offers, which is still happening. But if you're looking at something like a condo, this is a perfect opportunity. Buyers, the best thing to do in this market, make sure you got a pre-approval. Give them your tax stuff, give them your pay stubs, get an actual solid number, solid range of what you can get approved for. If you're getting into multiple offers, I love this. I had an agent do this with me a few weeks ago. They pulled the bank draft with the deposit and they submitted it with their offer. How serious does that look if you're a seller? These people are serious. They want my house and they're confident to come in and put money on the table right away. I love that. That's a great strategy. We use that with buyers, especially, and it's mainly in competitive scenarios. If you know you're getting into competition and there's gonna be 5, 6, 7 offers on the table, this is a great way to stand out. And ultimately, you're gonna have to do it tomorrow or today. So what difference does it make? Worst case, you go back to the bank. If you don't get the home, you redeposit the money and you spend a little bit of extra effort trying to get things done. But again, that boils down to experience. Who do you have working for you? How much experience do they have to play the chess game to see, we want to get here, how do we get there, and what steps do we need in order to secure that right property and transaction for you? And that's a wrap. We'll see you guys next month. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Shoot me a text, shoot me an email. We'll see you guys next month. Peace out.